What do we have here?
It's Castle Grayskull.
And it's mine.
Not so fast, Beastman.
He-Man!
You can pit He-Man against Beastman, playing for the power of Castle Grayskull. You have to put the castle together. Beastman's escaping.
The throne, Dad. Dad, you saved the castle.
Castle Grayskull from the Masters of the Universe collection. He-Man and Beastman, each sold separately from Mattel.
And the Masters of the Universe. I am Adam, Prince of Eternia and defender of the secrets of Castle Grayskull. This is Cringer, my fearless friend. Fabulous secret powers were revealed to me the day I held aloft my magic sword and said, "By the power of Grayskull!" Cringer became the mighty Battle Cat, and I became He-Man, the most powerful man in the universe. Only 3 others share this secret. Our friends, the Sorceress, Man-at-Arms, and Orko. Together we defend Castle Grayskull from the evil forces of Skeletor.
Hello, this is OptimusSolo, and welcome to the 22nd chapter of Tales of Eternia. With me for this journey into the Masters of the Universe franchise, as always, is TFG1Mike. Hello.
Yay, Season 1 is finally over.
Well, that's one way to look at it. All right, let's stay optimistic here. No, just kidding. Are you ready for Powers of Grayskull, sir?
Yes, I'm ready for Season 1 to be done.
All right, well, in this episode of Tales of Eternia, we'll be giving you our thoughts on Episode 64, Golden Disc of Knowledge, and the final episode of Season 1, Episode 65, The Heart of a Giant, as well as a look back on Season 1. We'll break down some statistics, look back at episode ratings, power swords, havoc staffs, and a quick look ahead to Season 2. So hopefully you're ready for all of that, because it's time to go back to Eternia.
Orko, be careful. What in the... Sorceress?
I am projecting my thoughts to you from here in Castle Grayskull. Something is wrong here at the castle. I dare not take the form of Zora the Falcon in order to summon you in person. You must come to Grayskull at once, as He-Man.
I'm on my way, Sorceress.
By the power of Grayskull!
All right, we start today with Thursday, December 1st, 1983. Yes, the first December issue of 1983 here. And we're starting with episode 64, The Golden Disc of Knowledge, which teleplay from David Wise. There was also another writer listed on there, but who cares? All right. And David Wise obviously was involved with about 6 or 7 episodes before this. And the plot for the Golden Disc of Knowledge goes something like this. At Castle Grayskull, the sorceress is disturbed by strange images, as well as a drawbridge that seems to be spazzing out. He-Man, Battlecat, and Orko discover Xanthor is responsible, a criminal banished to the Phantom Zone. Zodak attempts to pass judgment on Xanthor, but He-Man decides that if Xanthor truly does want to make amends, then he will accompany him on his mission. The mission at Snake Mountain, the heroes find the vault where the Golden Disc of Knowledge, should be located, but they only find fake discs. Skeletor appears before them and they are captured. As Xanthor escapes and claims the real disc, Skeletor tempts Xanthor to do evil once more. For bad guys, we have Skeletor, as well as a quick shot of Beastman, Evelyn, and Trapjaw. Masters, we have He-Man, Battle Orko, and the Sorceress. And the PSA is all about giving people a second chance. First of all, the introduction of a new character in Xanthor, the whole idea behind the Golden Disc of Knowledge, a little backstory behind the creation of Snake Mountain, and then, of course, the addition of how Zodak plays into all of this, as well as the journey at Snake Mountain. What did you think of the plot here for Golden Disc of Knowledge?
It might be one of the best episodes of the entire season.
Oh my goodness, it's possible Mike can say something good about He-Man still.
I will have something about this in episode 65 in my final thoughts before we get to all the lists and everything else as far as like the overall, but no, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I thought it was interesting.
Unique?
Well, kind of.
Not the whole second chance part, but the unique as far as in the world of He-Man, we haven't seen an episode like this yet.
Right, except for one part that I've seen many, many times before. We actually saw it in 1978 because somebody called Superman in General Zod because they stole the Phantom Zone from Superman.
We have had the Phantom Zone before. Skeletor went there once.
Was it called the Phantom Zone or was it called
Phantom
something
Region
else?
or Phantom Zone? The Phantom was in the title somewhere. But as far as like the whole, we haven't had any stories that have been dealing with the creation of Snake Mountain. We haven't had a lot of stories about the whole Council of Elders and the history of Eternia. We've had a few, obviously, when we've seen Zodak before. So to me, it was it's not necessarily your villain of the week or anything like that. It is introducing a new character, but it's kind of enveloped into a different story as far as not just Xanthor as a villain of the week. Well,
yeah, exactly.
How about the PSA as far as giving people second chance?
Second chances are all well and good, but when you get down to third, fourth, fifth, and sixth, that's when you kind of have to draw the line.
Yeah, I thought it was one of the more fitting ones as far as for a real moral or ethical PSA that also fits completely hand in hand with the episode in question. We've had some kind of just like silly like kids be safe and don't play in the dark and don't ram your head against stuff and that type of stuff. So this is a little bit heavier of a message, but a good one.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, completely agree.
All right, well, let's see what other good stuff we can say about the Golden Disc of Knowledge as we travel once again to Castle Grayskull.
Get inside, you two!
Boy, the sorceress wasn't fooling when she said something was wrong here.
Let's go find her. Sorceress, are you all right?
Yes, He-Man. Whatever is happening, it seems to be harmless.
It's almost as if something is trying to get your attention.
He-Man, you just may be onto something.
Offhand, I'd say whoever it is trying a little too hard.
Oh, mystic mirror, all-seeing, all-knowing, the strange intruder to us, now be shown.
Thank you, sorceress. It's such hard work trying to get your attention.
Sandor, I might have known it was you. You're being rather bold in light of your past crime.
Who is he?
Sorceress?
That, He-Man, is Xanthor, former keeper of Eternia's greatest treasure, the golden discs of knowledge.
Find ourselves at Castle Grayskull. The drawbridge is going crazy. There's pictures of weird stuff everywhere. We need some help that only Xanthor and Zodak can help us with. What are your highlights and favorite moments of the Golden Disc of Knowledge?
I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really great episode overall. So much so that I don't even need to make a journey to Snake Mountain this time. Adam, the artist, that was interesting. Usually Adam's sleeping or fishing. He's not, trying to become the next Van Gogh.
That's true.
Finally, some great backstory that has to do with the Masters of the Universe characters we know and love. And it's nice to see that there was a council at one time. See, I never remembered. I know of the 2002 storyline in the council. I never remembered them ever bringing up a council in this, or anything to do with... I remember a couple episodes where they had to go back in time and fight the snake people and stuff like that, but I don't ever remember them ever remembering... I wasn't ever remembering them mentioning a council.
Yeah, I don't either.
Finally, more Skeletor. That's always a good thing. The message of this episode was really good. Like I said before, second chances. That's always a good thing. He-Man versus the villains. Now, that was awesome.
Which part in particular do you remember?
The entire thing.
Oh. Gotcha. That makes sense.
The episode has everything. Great story, amazing action, and more.
Yeah, I mean, maybe not quite as much comedy that we got with Ram Man and Orko at times, and even Cringer, but I don't think there was needed in this one. A lot of good stuff. I like the idea of something weird happening at Castle Grayskull, and that the drawbridge is going crazy, and that's like, we haven't seen too much of that type of thing. We've seen people trying to break into it, and this, that, and the other, but not like where something going on where they can't explain like what's happening. So I like that. I like that we got the backstory that the only original member of the council left is Zodak, that the council had been disbanded at some point and he's the only one there, and the fact that Zodak was going to be involved in this episode at all made me happy. Again, agree with the whole second chance underlying moral. That's a good one. I liked that they had assembled a group of 4 that were going to get trapped into Skeletor's force shield, that the way they assembled it, that 2 of them were easily going to have a way out, being that Xanthor could, he's not a physical person or whatever, so he can just go walk right through it, and that also, obviously, Orko can easily get through there as well. So I thought that was a nice touch that 2 members could get out immediately, and then they could hopefully free the other 2. We got backstory of the building of Snake Mountain, because it was told that Skeletor, with the knowledge that he learned from the Golden Disc of Knowledge, was able to somehow, in the power or whatever, help him construct Snake Mountain in a way. There was actually some good original animation in this episode. I mentioned that a little bit last episode as well, of the podcast, that we're starting to see a few more different takes from He-Man. There was 2 or 3 different times where we saw He-Man do things that we haven't seen before. So I thought that was cool. Skeletor had a hilarious face when the snake came after him.
Yeah.
And I like the kind of twist at the end where Xanthor becomes a cosmic enforcer and gets suited up in Zodak's gear and goes off with him. Go ahead, you had a thought on that.
That was a little wonky for me.
It's a little wonky, but I like that they didn't just be like, okay. I mean, they didn't have anywhere else to go with him. Like, we can't send him back to the Phantom Zone because he did right. But maybe we don't necessarily want him on Eternia, so you can go with Zodak and be his henchman or whatever. That's fine.
No, I mean the outfit, the way the armor. That's what's wonky to me, because it made him look like a slave Leia.
That's true, a little bit. But yeah, a lot of good stuff about this episode in general, as well as, like you said, He-Man and the Evil Warriors going, at it, which is something that we have seen a lack of in the second half of this season. So, all good stuff. And actually, we're going to take your advice there, and we are not going to take a trip to Snake Mountain because, first of all, that snake is still out there. Riding around the hallways of Snake Mountain, and I don't want to deal with that. So we are going to skip right to the awards and rankings today for Golden Disc of Knowledge.
Since the Council of the Wise disbanded, I have served the overlords of the Eternal Dimension, keeping watch on the affairs of mortal men, but never interfering. But since this matter involves a decision made when I was on the Council, I will hear you out, Xanthor.
I am grateful, Zodak. I wish to be released from the Phantom Dimension so that I may atone for my crime.
And how do you intend to do this?
By returning the Golden Discs of Knowledge from Skeletor's clutches.
And what makes you think you can?
Because I know where he has hidden them.
What?
How do you know this?
I have been to Snake Mountain in my phantom form, unseen by Skeletor. I even tried to take them from him, but in my phantom form I could not hold them.
And how do we know that this isn't more of your treachery? Perhaps you plan to sell the discs again to a higher bidder than Skeletor.
All right, it's time to hand out some hardware and some golden disc of knowledge to people. So what kind of stuff are you wanting to give out for golden disc of knowledge?
I'm going to give Xanthor a power sword for making up for his mistake, and I'm going to give one to He-Man for actually, sticking up for him. We haven't seen a lot of, okay, sure, He-Man always sticks up for people, but I don't think I've ever seen, more recently, I'd say in the last 15 episodes, He-Man directly stick up for someone who has committed a crime.
Yeah, that's probably a fair statement.
I mean, sure. The beginning of the season, there were a couple of times where where Orca was like, He-Man, why don't we just get rid of Skeletor now? And He-Man's like, well, he's a person too, So, but it's been a while since he's kind of done that kind of thing. So I like that. So power swords for Xanthor and He-Man. What about you?
I will also give a power sword out to He-Man. I thought he did a really good job in this episode. I like that he defended the second chance, that he defended Xanthor when there was no reason to, but he saw that, hey, he made a mistake, but let's not just write him off for it like so many people would do. So just for sticking up for that principle in general, I liked He-Man a lot in this episode, and I don't have any Havoc stats to give out this time.
Me either.
How about a rating? One of the final ratings of season 1. What do you give this one?
Think you can guess?
Probably a 5.
Yep, there you go.
All right, well, we are going to be in complete agreement. I also give this one a 5. This is obviously the top score we can give. There's only been a few times where we've given out 5s, and this one is a well-deserving one. A nice second to last episode here.
I will say again that close to the end, after the final episode, I will have something that I think that would have made the end of the season a little bit better. So,
all right, well, we'll have to wait and see what that is. But before we can do that, we need to talk about a giant heart. So let's get there.
Hello, buddy. Wake up.
Where am I? What happened? Oh yeah, the monster! Adam, quick! We got He-Man! Hey, there's a giant monster in there!
There, Orko. Everything's all right now. There's no monster. Now, tell us what happened.
Oh, I found some saltweed, and then this big ugly monster attacked me. He must have hit me. Oh, quick, we gotta get out of here.
Orko, are you certain he attacked you?
Yeah, I could have run into a tree, I suppose. Hey, wait a minute. How did I get back here?
Well, this monster, as you call him, brought you back along with your pouch. Let's look inside. This so-called monster must be pretty bright. He knew what you were looking for, Orko.
None of this adds up. I want to know who that giant is and how he knew that we were looking for saltweed.
Oh, couldn't we just leave well enough alone?
He must be a spy for Skeletor. Or he could be someone in trouble. We better go after him.
Do we have to?
Yes, as He-Man.
Oh, no.
So we have made it to the end of season 1 of the original He-Man cartoon series, which ends for us on December 2nd. It's a Friday, the end of the week, the first week of December back in 1983 for episode 65, The Heart of a Giant, written by David Wise and Robbie London. During a storm while searching for saltweed, Orko encounters a giant that scares him into knocking himself out by flying into a tree. After the storm passes, the giant stands before Prince Adam, Man-at-Arms, and Cringer, drops off Orko, then departs. Meanwhile, a mysterious figure known as the Keeper watches the action from above in his flying spaceship. His goal is to capture the giant for his ever-growing sideshow. He succeeds and captures Orko in the process. He-Man and his friends must save Orko and the giant from the Keeper's sideshow. For bad guys, we don't have any. For masters, we have He-Man, Cringer, Orko, Man-at-Arms, and the PSA is all about don't judge a book by its cover. Everybody was afraid of the giant, even though he had the heart of gold. Thoughts about this plot, other than the fact that we've already seen it this season?
Okay, the stuff with the giant is great. Everything else, a beastly sideshow did it better.
Yeah, we've basically seen this not only in a beastly sideshow, I think we even saw it in another episode too, where people were basically trying to gather up all these different...
The Pawns of the Game Master.
Yeah, saw it there. So, I mean, we've seen it multiple times here, so it's definitely not unique. The difference between this one is something I'll get to at Castle Grayskull. There is something that sets this one slightly apart, but as far as just straight plot, I've seen it a lot before, and I understand the whole giant having a heart and being, judged unfairly, etc. But I was kind of bored by that as well.
Yeah.
So
I'm pretty sure you could probably. I don't want you to, but I'm pretty sure you can guess what my final note is that I've been teasing throughout this whole episode when we get to the overall. But yeah, no, the stuff with the giant, all the interacting with Orko and showing the giant and showing the giant interacting with everybody else, all that's great. The overall plot of a collector or a circus ringmaster or somebody going out and finding the best of the best of the best to add to this that and the other thing, it's old and stale at this point for me. And like I said, I think Beastman and a Beastly Sideshow did it a little bit better.
I mean, I like the concept, and I like the whole idea of gathering up like this awesome collection of people and things like that. But yeah, it's been done before, and although they did one part better in this one, they did a lot of parts worse. So I don't know. A little disappointed for the last episode of the season. It wasn't a terrible episode. I don't want to make it seem like it's awful, but
Right.
Coming off the other one, a little bit of a letdown.
Yep, pretty much.
All right, well, let's try to say something good about this one as we travel for the last time in Season 1 to Castle Grayskull.
For days I've been tracking that giant. I almost had him until that blasted storm jammed my equipment. But I'll get him. My sideshow will be the greatest ever seen. You mindless brute. They'll pay to cringe at your ugliness. And they'll pay to see your forearms. Too bad you don't even know how to use them. And you, they'll line up for miles to see the thing with two heads. Ha! 2 heads and no brains. My sensors have picked up something. The giant! I've found him!
All right, well, we're at Castle Grayskull for the final time. What good things do you have to say about this giant heart?
It's a messy heart. Holy crap. Atriums and ventricles and all. Ugh.
Blood.
Blood, yep. Orko's magic. We've seen it work more regularly, which is kind of a good thing.
True.
That's a good thing. And finally, Stratos. Yay!
Where has he been?
Yeah, so nice to see some of the other bird people as well. And I do really love this the message that this gives us. Not just don't judge a book by its cover, but, try to get to know someone before you judge them.
Right. No, I get that.
But that's all I got.
My favorite part about this individual instance of gathering up all of the, circus sideshow villains / whatever, is that they chose to go a unique route and actually pick characters from all the episodes we've already seen. So all of the people that were involved in this had already been seen in a prior episode. And for that, I give them credit for. Yes, it's a cheap way of just reusing character designs that have already been used, but it's awesome seeing those people that they still exist in the universe, and that instead of creating all new people, which it makes more sense if you're trying to get these like great villains from the world, that we should have seen them already. So it makes sense that they went back and recycled some, all of those characters. So I thought that was probably the best part of the episode.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, this episode didn't bore me, but it wasn't as good. It was a very good episode, but it wasn't as great as episode 64. I personally couldn't find anything what are you going to write down? There's no villains. There's no Trapjaw doing something stupid. There's no Merman doing something stupid. There's no Evelyn trying to take over and rule it herself. There's no kids, thankfully. There's no weird cousins. And Tila really had nothing to do with this episode, so yeah, I didn't write anything down for Snake Mountain.
All right, then. Well, I actually don't have much either for Snake Mountain. Like, there wasn't a lot to hate on. There wasn't anything really to, like, bash the episode for, other than the plot is, like I said, a little stale, a little done already. And I got a little bit bored by the giant, but I didn't have like any actual specific moments that really stood out to me that were bad. So we will do our last session of handing out some hardware for season 1 and see what kind of awards and ratings we give the final episode.
Just great. I start out the day looking for saltweed, and I wind up as part of a circus sideshow. Can't you say anything? Well, I'm going to try to get us out of here.
Don't.
Huh?
Those bars are electrified.
You spoke. Well, it sure took you long enough.
Longer than you know. This is the first time I've said a word in many years.
I don't get it. Why not?
Because I was ridiculed for my great size. Because I was hated for my fearsome appearance. Because I was an outcast from the world of men. Because people are cruel. Even you feared me at first.
I know, and I'm sorry.
Years ago, I fled the cities to live as a hermit in the evergreen forest with my friends.
Friends?
The wild creatures of nature. They do not ridicule me. In all that time, I've spoken to no one. Until now.
Well, I'm sure glad you did. My name's Orko. What's yours?
It's Cambro, little friend.
Well, now we gotta get out of here somehow.
I could bend the bars, but they aren't safe to touch. That looks like the control panel over there. If there was some way to shut it off...
Hey, well, I've got a few magic tricks up my sleeve. Thunder, lightning, clatter, and hail, make my body thin as a rail.
All right, last chance for hardware. What are you giving out for the Heart of a Giant?
I'm going to give a power sword to Orko, because Orko, sure, he was scared of the giant at first, but he wasn't openly making fun of the giant. He wasn't openly teasing the giant. He wasn't really, like, Orko never made any snarky remarks in this episode, like he sometimes will. He didn't ever get suspicious. There have been times in the past in these 65 episodes where Orko, I think it was one of Adam's cousins. It wasn't Jeremy. It was Ed Weiner, where he got really suspicious of her when he had just met her. And Orko really kind of excelled in this one for me. So I'm going to give a power sword to Orko. What about you?
I actually don't have anyone that stood out to me on this one. Even the keeper was a little not special. Like, he was just kind of an average whatever. So, the giant really didn't do too much for me. I just kind of, I don't know. I guess I wasn't into this episode. I don't have hardware to give out either way.
Okay. For me on the rating, the only reason why it gets this is because I don't think it was a good season ender. It's a good episode. Don't get me wrong. I just don't think it's season finale worthy. But this gets a 3 out of 5 Orkos for me.
All right, fair enough. You give it a 3 out of 5. I am going to agree and give it a 3 out of 5 because to me it just is one of those, like I've said many times this season, it just sits in the middle. It's nothing that makes it bad, but there's nothing really that makes it good. So I will leave it right where it sits in the middle. And that is how we will end with season 1. I agree. It's not the best season finale. I don't know if they've really had any concept of season finale at this point. Not really. But we will take a break and we will come back with a special look at the conclusion now of season 1.
In today's episode, Xanther committed a crime, but when he was given a chance to make up for it, he came through with flying colors. You know, it's important to give our friends a chance to make up for their mistakes. Of course, if they continue to do wrong, we might want to think about whether we really want them for a friend or not. But many wrongdoers do see the error of their ways. All they need is a second chance. Everybody deserves that.
Kid?
Yes?
Shut up.
Beyond the Night is the GCRN's latest review podcast. We are covering everything in the Knight Rider television universe. From the classic 80s TV series to the 1991 reunion film, Team Knight Rider, and the 2008 relaunched series as well. So join TFG1Mike and Dion the Music Man as they go in-depth and Beyond the Night only on Geekcast Radio Network. You can find Beyond the Night in iTunes and on www.geekcastradio.com.
Kid?
Yes, Michael.
Just keep driving.
50 years ago, a little old man brought his little blue box to a junkyard, and now Doctor Who is a cultural phenomena worldwide. Join the Geekcast Radio Network and Mark Who 42's Whoniverse as we review Doctor Who episodes past and present, discuss the Doctor's friends and enemies, see where the Doctor's been, where he is, and where he's going. Sit back and grab a jelly baby and join Mark Who 42's Whoniverse. It's the ride of this and every other lifetime.
Fantastic.
Allons-y.
Today I learned something about judging other people by the way they look. Just because Cambro looked different, I was frightened of him, and I thought he was some kind of monster. But he turned out to be kind and gentle and smart. I hope you'll try to remember not to judge people by the way they look, and not to make fun of them if they look different. People deserve to be judged on their words, and especially on their actions. From now on, I'm going to give them a chance. I hope you will too. Bye!
Alright, welcome back, and it is time to take a special look back at Season 1, so some of the stuff we're going to talk about real quickly. First, we're going to start off with just some overall thoughts on the season now that it has concluded, and then I have some stats for you as far as episode ratings, the best episodes, the worst episodes, Mike's thoughts so far on an average rating that he's been given. We'll break it down into the first half of the season, the second half, and overall, as well as the number of power swords and havoc staffs given out, some information about episode appearances by characters, and a little bit about the writers. So first, let's start with your overall thoughts on Season 1 so far and how it ended, how it began, how it's gone throughout the whole thing.
How it began was great. How it ended was kind of lackluster. I would actually switch episodes 64 and 65. I would have Golden Discs of Knowledge be the final episode for Season 1. It was a better series, not series, but it was a better season finale type of thing in my mind.
Yeah, I agree. I like the idea that they summed up a lot of the villains and brought them, like the side villains and monsters and whatever, and brought them back together, but they could have done that in episode 64 and had 65 more something that either wraps stuff up, it finishes a character arc, gives us the last look at something or the first look at something that we're going to see in Season 2 that just didn't seem to be much thought about. Episode was going to be actually the last one, more so like they just had all the episodes and just put them in order and randomly had 65 episodes.
I will say again, I do remember back when we did Prince Adam No More, when he, I think it's the, what was it? It was this season, wasn't it? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The one where he throws the power sword back.
Yeah.
Or maybe there's an episode, I'm trying to remember, I think it was in Season 1, I could be wrong. There's an episode where he gives the power back. He doesn't want to be He-Man anymore.
Oh no, we haven't seen that yet.
Damn. I was going to say, if that was in this season, that would be a really good season finale.
Yep, something like that would have been a lot more of a cliffhanger. It's not that it has to be a cliffhanger, but just something to leave there.
No. Yeah, something that puts a kind of a stamp on it, and that's why I say now that Golden Discs of Knowledge really did that with it. It introduced a new character, but it also wrapped up, gave us, like we said, backstory with Snake Mountain and everything else. But that was my only real final thought so far, as far as...
It's definitely been an interesting journey so far. Like you said, it was a good beginning. Obviously, all this stuff was fresh to us, so we hadn't really seen, that much of any of it. So for a long time, so it was good to kind of get that initial look at it. But it's interesting to see kind of the patterns that happened throughout the first season, which we're going to get into, especially when we get into character appearance and the difference between how the season starts and how it ends, and we'll get more into that. But first of all, just getting into some ratings. If you were to break it down into the two halves of the first season, we'll look at the first half and we'll look at the second half. At the halfway point, my average rating for an episode was 3.39. All right, 3.39. So just under 3.5 was my average rating, and your average rating of the first half was 3.42. So you slightly enjoyed the first half, even a tiny bit better than I, and we were both hovering around that 3.5 mark, which puts it above average. All right, obviously 3 would be the middle, so we were both above the middle mark as far as how we rated the first half of the season. If you look at the second half of the season, my rating went from that 3.39 down to 3.20. So just a drop for me. I'm still above a 3, but I went from about, right around 3.4 down to 3.2. You, however, went from a 3.42 down to a 2.53.
Yeah.
So you went from a 3.5 down to a 2.5. So still, again, hovering right around that middle mark, which isn't a surprise since we're taking the average here, but you went all the way from a 3.5 on the first half down to a 2.5 during the second half of the season, which would total out to give us, if we're looking at the season as a whole, my rating is about a 3.3, and yours is a 2.95.
Yeah.
So mine just above a 3, and you are just below a 3. Do you think that's an accurate portrayal of how you felt first half, second half?
Yeah, because, I mean, like I said at the beginning of the season, when we first started this journey, there are things that I remember, moments that make me emotional, like the first time He-Man has the jaw bridge opened. The first time I saw the transformation. The first time I heard the theme song. That kind of stuff. As the season progressed, I wanted more from Skeletor and the Evil Warriors. And we did get a lot of it in certain parts, but the second half of the season just wasn't good. It really wasn't, because 90% of the second half had nothing to do with Skeletor and the Evil Warriors.
Yeah, you were not very friendly with your ratings during the second half. We'll get to that in a little bit. Well, we can talk about it a little bit now, because we're actually very similar as far as our high ratings and our low ratings. What I did is I went back and I looked at anything that we rated 1.5 or below, and anything that we rated 4.5 or above, to see what were our favorite and our least favorite episodes. And it's pretty similar. We look at the first half, we had about the same amounts of 4.5s and 5s. We had about the same amounts of 1s and 0s. We had the same amount of 4.5 to 5s in the second half of the season, but where I only had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of 1.5 or below during the second half, you had 13 1s or 0s during the second half of the season.
That's because it's so bad.
Well, I mean, we both had the same amount of good episodes too, so you just definitely did not like the second half of the season as much. If you were to try to give a rating of the first season overall, 1 through 5, just the whole season together, how would you grade it if you're just looking at it as one entire item?
3 out of 5.
Okay.
And I say that because I see, okay, sure, on a scale that's 1 to 5 with half points, because I know you've used a lot of half points at times.
Right.
We are using half points here. I don't, you do. But that's technically a 10-point scale, and I figure 3 is like right there in the middle. I know technically 2.5 is the middle of a 5-point scale, but I still say 3 overall, because I mean, I grew up watching the show. I had a lot of emotion as a child, and even now as an adult, about some of the certain moments of this show. But as I said a second ago, certain episodes they're just bad. And I'm not even saying they're bad. I'm not comparing it to cartoons today at all. No, I'm just saying it's a bad episode in the context of it being a bad episode. Take Valley of Power. We both agree that's a bad episode.
Well, that's getting into what we can talk about next here, because I also went through and I saw which ones we paired up on and which ones we differed on. And if we were trying to make I know like a lot of cartoon series do like a disc where it's like, oh, these are the 10 best episodes or 10 fan favorites, which I have no idea what their formula is to do that. But if we were to be doing some type of thing where we were trying to get that together, we easily have a 7 episodes that we agree would be in contention for the best episodes, because we have 7 where both of us either scored it 4.5 or 5. We also have 6 episodes where we both scored it 1.5 or below. So we agree on that. But there's 6 episodes also that we completely differ on. And I'm going to name those first before we get into the ones that we agree on. The 6 episodes that we very much disagree on, and if you are a listener of the podcast and want to weigh in on these particular to tell us who's right and who's wrong, Beastly Sideshow, you gave a 5.
Yep.
And I gave that one a 2.5. So there was a difference there. Which we interestingly just kind of referenced Beastly Sideshow in this episode. And A Tale of Cities on the vice versa there. A Tale of Two Cities I gave a 4.5 and you gave a 1. So that was episode 26 and 27. We definitely disagree on those. So the jury's still out on those 2, as well as Ordeal in the Darkness, which I gave a 4.5 and you gave a 1. Tila's Trial I gave a 3.5 and you gave a 1. Orko's Missing Magic you gave a 4 and I gave a 1. And Wizard of Stone Mountain I gave 3.5 and you gave a 1. So those are the 6 that we disagree on the most. So we'll have to revisit those at a future time maybe. But as far as the bad of the bad, and if you have Mike and myself agreeing on something, you can take it to the bank that these episodes are bad, regardless of how Count Marzo or anybody else feels about these episodes. All right.
You would call him out, wouldn't you?
Well, I'm just saying any other one. If you and I both agree on this, it's crazy, all right? Starting with one that I guess would be the least bad out of the bad here. We have 2 of them where I rated it at 1.5 and you rated it 1. That would be Keeper of the Ancient Ruins and The Royal Cousin. Obviously, The Royal Cousin included Jeremy, which we've referenced multiple times.
Are we going to regrade some of these episodes? So
we'll just
lower the grade.
We'll have to see how it all pans out here. But Keeper of the Ancient Ruins and The Royal Cousin, like I said, I gave them both 1.5. You gave them both 1. Then we had a couple other ones that are interesting here. We had The Return of Evil, which I gave a 1.5 and you gave a straight 0.
Yep.
We have Return of the Gryphon, which I gave a 1 and you gave a 0.
Yep.
And we have Colossal Awakes, episode 3.
That's the one Marzo likes, I think.
Which I gave a 1 and you gave a 0.
Yeah.
And then we have the only episode to achieve this, a 00 for Valley of Power, written by Doug Booth, which was full of animation mistakes, awful writing by Doug Booth. Valley of Power, I guess, is what we're agreeing on is, as far as our grade by grade as we were going through, that's the only episode we both gave 0s to.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, Colossal Awakes, Valley of Power, Keeper of the Ancient Ruins, The Royal Cousin, Return of Evil, Return of the Gryphon. Do not watch those first if you're trying to, fill your nostalgic need and watch some He-Man. Those would be bad episodes to watch. As far as the flip side, the best of the best, we had, like I said, 7 of them that we agree are the top of the class here. So we'll have to see how season 2 pans out, and if we are making our top 10 or top 20 episodes, if these will still hold up afterwards. But looking here down the list, first of all, we have, let's go from the most recent ones that we talked about. Golden Disc of Knowledge, we both gave a 5. All right, that's one we just talked about. The Witch and the Warrior, which featured Evelyn and Tila in major roles, we both gave 5s.
Mm-hmm.
The Return of Granomir. Everybody remembers Granomir. His return was awesome. We both gave that a 5.
Mm-hmm.
The Search, which featured Zodak, I gave a 4.5. You gave a 5.
Mm-hmm.
We had The Mystery of Many-Faces, the only episode that featured Many-Faces. I gave a 4.5 and you gave a 5. We had Dragon's Gift, which was Granomir's first appearance. I gave a 4.5 and you gave a 5. We had Prince Adam No More, which featured Merman. We both gave 5s. And Tila's Quest, which was episode number 2, which really gave some backstory into Tila. We both gave 5s.
Yeah, see, when you were talking earlier about Tila's Trial, I was like, wait a second, I don't remember. Oh, wait, it was Tila's Quest that I gave the good rating to.
So
okay.
if you're looking for a season 1 episode to start your watching, it should be Tila's Quest, Prince or Dragon's Gift, Mystery of Many-Faces, The Search, The Return of Granomir, or The Witch and the Warrior, or finally The Golden Disc of Knowledge. Those are the best episodes that we had to offer here. Interestingly, if you were looking at the writing team, which we'll get into before we get into actual Power Swords and Havoc staffs, take those episodes that we hated. All right. Your writers for those, one was that J. Bryn Stevens, one was Doug Booth, one was Lee Robert, one was Richard Pardee, one was Robbie London, and one was David Wise.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So outside of maybe David Wise and maybe Robbie London, more so not your name brand writers that you would expect too much from. I did find it interesting, though, if you take our episodes that we similarly ranked high, when we had no idea that this was happening, we had no idea, we oftentimes didn't rank something based on the writer or didn't know the writer, and we didn't keep track of how they were doing throughout the season. This is just something I just compiled. But if you take the 7 episodes that we both rated at the top of the list, here's your writers. All right. David Wise, Larry DiTillio, Paul Dini, Paul Dini, Paul Dini, Paul Dini.
That's right.
And even if you look at some of the other ones, there was, because there were some individual ones where the other episode that you gave a 5 that I didn't quite give as high was a Larry DiTillio. I gave a 5 to a Paul Dini episode. There was another one where you gave a 4.5 to, or I gave a 4.5 to Paul Dini. You gave a 5 to Larry DiTillio, where we didn't quite agree. There was one where I gave a 4.5 to Paul Dini. There's another one where you gave a 5 to a Larry DiTillio episode. And there's one more that I gave a 4.5 to Paul Dini. So it's not that we're Paul Dini and Larry DiTillio fanboys. It was, as we went through this is how it scored out, that they really had the better episodes.
Well, Larry was one of the guys that they went to at the time. Like when they brought him in, him and Robbie London, Paul Dini, those were the guys. Those were the guys that created, like the I don't know if they all had a hand in the series Bible. I think Larry did a huge part of the series Bible, from interviews that I remember listening to, and the interview that we did a number of years ago on GCRN. But I mean, those 3 guys were, Larry, Paul, and Robbie. Those 3 guys were the guys that were like head staff writers. Don't get me wrong, I love David Wise. I love his writing. I just don't think. Okay, there was one episode, right?
The Search.
The Search that we didn't really like.
That was the one that we really liked from David Wise.
Oh, it was?
Yeah, The Search and Golden Disc of Knowledge, which was a new one that I didn't mention. So there was 2 David Wise, 2 Larry DiTillio, and 4 Paul Dini.
Okay. There was one David Wise episode where I think I ranked it poorly.
Yeah.
Because I just didn't. But I remember watching interviews with him, and
that would be Tila's trial, by the way.
Okay, yeah, there you go. I've seen interviews with David Wise, and he's not a sword and fantasy kind of guy. He's a giant robot kind of guy.
Yeah.
So when he came in to write some of these episodes, I believe I've heard him say this, that he was just doing what they needed. I don't think he was really that into it.
And just so you know that we're not fanboys, like you said, Mike gave a 1 to one of David Wise episodes. I gave a 1 to Larry DiTillio. You gave a 1 to the Paul Dini Janice Diamond compilation. You gave a 1 to Pawns of the Game Master, which was Paul Dini. You gave a 1 to the Huntsman, which was Larry DiTillio. So, I mean, we did score them bad when we felt that they needed to be scored bad. So it's not like we're just strict fanboys. And you could say that, well, they just wrote more episodes, but there was a lot of people that wrote multiple episodes that we just didn't score as high. So it seemed like Paul Dini especially turned out the best episodes of season 1. Interesting, though, if we're going to look at the other stuff that we gave out, which was the Power Swords and the Havoc Staffs. Not only have I broken down to which character received the most of each, but I've broken it down into which person gave the most out to certain people. So looking at it this way, the person that received the most Power Swords throughout Season 1, really without a doubt here, is Orko. Orko received the most Power Swords. I gave him 5, and I gave him 10. So he had 15 Power Swords handed out. So I guess you could say that he was, at least in Mike's situation, his favorite character of the season. And overall, combined, we would do it that way. Second, we would probably have to look at Cringer / Battlecat. Battlecat only received 1, but if we combine that in with the Cringer votes, then I gave him the combination of those guys 3 Power Swords, and you gave him 8. So we're at 11 power swords for Cringer and Battle Cat. After that, He-Man had 11, 7 from me and 4 from you. Ram Man had 8, 4 from each of us. So those are your top dogs as far as power swords. And then coming in next, I guess the only bad character that we've mentioned so far, Skeletor, had 7 total, 3 from me and 4 from you. So those are the highest rankings. Other ones that got power swords out of the main characters, Tila ended up with 5 of them. Eva Lynn ended up with 3. Prince Adam ended up with 3, if you take that version of him. Stratos with 1, Panther with 1, Merman with 3, Zodak with 2, Manny Faces with 2, the King and Queen 1, Attack Track 1, Clawful 1, Beastman 1, Man at Arms 2. So that's how the rest of it played out. So it seems like we're fans of the comic relief with Orko, with Ram Man, and with Cringer, and then we fall back on the standards with He-Man and Skeletor as far as power swords go.
Yeah. See, for me with Power Swords and Orko, it's not that I said it this episode. I think I said it in episode 21 a couple weeks ago. It's not just Orko. It's my... I mean, if I really had to give out who was my favorite, best character for the entire season, it would be Cringer / Battle Cat. But because I don't normally give Power Swords out to him just for his witty one-liners.
Right.
I mean, like, with Orko, giving Orko a power sword, it's because either he did something awesome, or he did some magic that actually worked for once, or he did learn a lesson.
Right.
So, that's why they have the most for him.
All right. And if you flip it on the backside, and we're looking at Havoc staffs, first of all, it should be something to note here that we were a lot more likely to give Havoc staffs out to side characters, to villain of the week, to relatives of the royal family, to the writing team. We didn't actually hand out a ton of Havoc staffs to kind of the traditional He-Man characters outside of one character. And that would be the Queen of the Havoc staff, Tila, with 13. 5 from myself and 8 from you. So Tila by far reigns supreme as far as the Havoc staff. If you're looking at the only other ones that we gave out to the traditional characters, Skeletor received 1 from you, Orko received 1 from you, Zodak somehow received 1 from you.
I think it was in his initial appearance. I don't think I liked the way he spoke to He-Man or something like that.
The combination of the King and Queen each received 1 from each of us. I gave 1 to Jitsu, even though he was just a guest character. He's someone that the fandom would know. And the Sorceress received 3 Havoc staffs from you. So she would probably be second in command after Tila.
Like daughter, like mother.
So that's how the Havoc staffs and the Power Swords worked out there. If we are looking at actual episode appearances, I thought this was something interesting to look at, because looking back, I'm trying to think, we talked a lot about, the Evil Warriors not being there, Skeletor not being there. I was like, well, how would it all actually break down if we saw who appeared in which episodes over the 65 episodes from season 1?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, if you look at the good side first. Obviously, He-Man appears in all the episodes. All right. There was no episode that was He-Man less. If you look outside of that, Orko appeared in 58 of the episodes. So there was only 7 episodes where we did not see Orko. Next would be the combination of Man-at-Arms and Tila, who each appeared in 54. Then we have Cringer / Battle Cat, which was roughly 48 episodes. There was a few episodes where he was not present. Mm-hmm. Then we have the Sorceress, who appeared in 43 episodes. So those are your main episode appearances. So we did have 22 that Sorceress did not appear in. King and Queen. King was actually in more episodes than the Queen. The Queen was only in 15 episodes, whereas we got the King in 27. I did not realize that there was 12 times that we saw the King without the Queen. But that happened. Next up is Ram Man, who appeared in just 14 episodes out of the 65. Mm-hmm. Then Stratos, who appeared in 10. Zodak appeared in 3. And Manny Faces appeared in 1. Is out of that group, if we just take the good side of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, as far as the traditional characters, not just like guest characters, which of those is your favorite? Which did you want to see more of? Which could you see less of? We have Stratos, Ram Man, Manny Faces, Zodak, King and Queen, Sorceress, Man-at-Arms, Tila, Orko, Battle Cat.
I could always see less of Tila in
Okay.
this version. I don't. And I don't think she ever gets any better. She's always going to be bitching at Adam. She's always going to be, hypocritical. She will never. I will never ever be able to say Filmation Tila was a favorite character of mine. She's not. People I want to see more of. I do want to see more of the King and Queen. I'd like to see more of the King in battle. There was one episode where he and He-Man fought together, I believe, earlier in the season. I'd like to see some more of that. And Cringer. I mean, anytime Cringer... And what I was saying about episode 20, I think I said it 2 weeks ago in episode 21, but what I was saying when we did Tales of Eternia episode 20, there's a audio piece in one of the episodes where they blend the audio from the back and forth between Cringer and Adam about doing the transformation right into actually the transformation itself. I want to see more of that kind of fluidity as far as how well the episode plays. So, yeah, more Cringer, please.
Also, I would say that I'm somewhat surprised. I did not know going into this that we would see Stratos and Ram Man only in 10 and 14 episodes. I just, from my memory, thought that they appeared more often. So I was very surprised that they only appeared in 10 out of 65 episodes. So I could see some more of Stratos and Ram Man, and I would be fine. Zodak, Manny Faces, all those like side heroes. I would like to see all of them more. I won't spoil it, but I will say out of the ones I just mentioned, Stratos, Ram Man, Manny Faces, Zodak, the Sorceress, King and Queen, and obviously the main crew, there is somebody that we have seen for the last time. And whether that's sad or happy for you, there is one of those characters that we will not see at all in season 2, unfortunately. If we are flipping it to the evil side, the one that we discussed the most, we know that we were both shocked to see how many episodes they did not appear in.
Yeah.
All right. Skeletor. He appeared more than anybody else. As shocking as that is. He appeared in 32 of the 65 episodes.
See, that's too low.
So under half of the episodes.
He should be in at least 48, 49, 55 of the episodes.
I like I said before, or way earlier on, I enjoy a time where the main guys are not seen. Like I wish we would get a mask that doesn't have Venom in it. I like seeing I like seeing the random Transformers episode that doesn't have Megatron, or a G.I. Joe episode that doesn't have Cobra Commander. I don't mind seeing it once or twice. I don't half of the episodes to not feature the main villain. And there's a stark difference if we break it down into the first half of season 1 and the second half of season 1. In the first half of season 1, he only was missing from 9 of the episodes. The second half, he was missing from 23.
That's too much. See, that's the thing. It's like, and there was a point in the second half of the season where it was like, bam, bam, like 7, 8, 9 episodes.
We went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The longest stretch we had was a 9-episode run without them.
Yep.
A 9-episode run without Skeletor, then we had him for 2, and then we lost him for 4 right away again. So missing from 23 of the second half episodes is just ridiculous. And then if you look at the rest of the Evil Warriors, Evil Lyn and Beastman each appeared in 20 of the 65 episodes, so just about a third of the episodes had Evil Lyn or Beastman. Trapjaw, we dropped down to 14. He was only in 14 episodes. Merman was in 10. Triclops was in 7. I don't remember seeing him 7 times.
I don't remember seeing him 7 times either.
But he was in there 7 times, and Clawful was in there 3 times. Are you surprised at the amount of episodes that these guys got? Do you expect it to be more, and do you want to see which one of these, if you could only pick one, would you see more of going forward?
I want to see more Triclops, because I honestly do not remember the 7 episodes he was in.
I want to see more of both Triclops, and if I had to only pick one, I want to see more Merman. I like Merman. I want to see more Merman. I just want to see more Evil Warriors altogether, and obviously that's something that we'll talk about when we talk about looking forward to Season 2, because there's a lot of characters that we have not seen yet, so they have to be appearing somewhere in Season 2. So yeah, definitely a trend that if you're looking back, that the first half of the season was definitely very much different than the second half. We went the first 13 episodes and we got Skeletor in all 13.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and then we saw him in 6 out of the next 8 after that. And that's when the trend started, around episode 22. And my thought process is were they basically just trying to sell the toys, which we understand that there was a toy selling thing, or, you know, even if you take it a step back further where you're just trying to introduce characters. So we've spent 13 episodes where you're introducing all these different characters, and did they just really feel the need to go off of that? And did they feel like they had done everything they could with those characters? Did they just try to make a break and just introduce? Because it's not, you know, you say this is about selling toys. This actually, season 1 of He-Man goes against that.
It does, yeah.
If they were trying to sell toys, explain to me how all of the bad guys disappear for more than half of the season.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a toy salesman. If it was a toy selling show, every episode you would be getting a toy.
Do you remember off the top of your head when Battle Armor, He-Man, and Skeletor came out in toy? Okay. See, that's the thing. And again, this is something for the listeners because I'm not going to stop the show to look it up right now. If Battle Armor, He-Man, and Skeletor came out during season 1, why wouldn't you have featured them in... If going by your logic here of having to sell toys, why wouldn't you have featured them in the cartoon, the designs of Battle Armor, He-Man, and Skeletor, if it was done in season 1? If they weren't released till season 2, fine. But I mean,
the main point,
I don't know, because I don't remember as a child. I remember playing with Battle Armor, He-Man, and Skeletor, but I didn't coincide it with watching the episodes at the time, so I'm not sure.
And the main point here, though, is if you're truly feeling the logic that everybody just likes to blanketly throw at 80s cartoons, that this is really only to sell toys, why would you have more than half of your episodes? Why would you have 33 episodes that don't feature a bad character that is represented in toy form? Like,
yeah, that's not good at all.
That's not a very good marketing campaign then.
No, not really.
So, and obviously we're saying we would like more of it, but it definitely seemed like, they took about, at the 25 episode mark, they just abandoned the Evil Warriors altogether. Because there was not more than 10 episodes from that point on that featured.
Mm-hmm.
So, just an interesting look at season 1. And as we shift to look towards season 2, how much of that do you think is going to continue? How many of the quote-unquote new toy line will we see? Will it do the same thing where we have the first half introduces a bunch of characters and the second half we just are done?
I think we're going to see a lot of new characters. I know, for example...
Well, we can go... Well, hold on one second, because I got a list here that we can go through real quick of characters we haven't seen yet that you can expect to see in season 2. And I might be missing some, but we have not seen Whiplash. We have not seen Mechanic. We have not seen Spike or Too Bad, Cyclone, Webstor, Buzz-Off, Modulac. We haven't seen Roboto. So, I mean, there's a lot of characters we have not seen yet.
The one I was going to say was that I know that's coming up actually next episode, in episode 23 of the podcast, is Fisto. So we'll see him. One thing that you and I both glossed over, I think it was episode 18 or 19 of the podcast. I meant to mention it. I don't remember mentioning it, because after we finished the recording session, I was like, damn it, I forgot to mention that. We both forgot to mention the appearance and debut of Stridor. Stridor was the robotic horse that threw Adam.
Oh, okay.
And I remember, I either remember having the Stridor toy, or I remember one of my friends having it, and I remember playing with it.
Gotcha.
But I was really shocked to see Stridor. He was only one of those beginning scenes where, Adam and Teela are goofing off and stuff like that. I mean, it wasn't like he was predominant in the episode, but
right.
I just found it interesting that they put him in there because I remember the toy of the character.
Huh. Well, so interested to see when these characters appear, and if the trend will continue that they, are they only in one episode? Do they become recurring characters? Do they stay for the entire season? Do we have Evil Warriors more throughout season 2 or not? Do we get more backstory of any of these characters? And which of those characters that we saw in season 1 have sung their swan song and are no longer to be heard from or seen again? So a lot of questions for season 2. Are you looking forward to season 2? Are you kind of burned out with the series overall? What's your thought at this point?
For season 2, they better ramp it up. I want to see.
Are you hopeful? Are you optimistic? Or are you thinking they're going to let us down?
I'm hopeful, but I'm cautiously I'm cautiously pessimistic actually, because they ended the season, and I know back then it wasn't driven by season finale, season premiere type things. I get it, it wasn't, but like I said earlier in this little recap here that we're doing, episodes 64 and 65 should have been switched around to have episode 64 be the last one as 65. I'm hopeful for all the characters I know and love to appear and show up. Like I mentioned in one of the episodes today, yay, Stratos. It was like, I haven't seen Stratos in so long. Like, the same thing with Triclops and all the characters. I want to see more of the actual He-Man characters. I don't want to see any more villains of the week or one-off characters.
Which I'm sure we'll get a little of that, but hopefully not as much. All right, any other thoughts before we close out today?
Nope, that's it.
All right, well, thank you for listening to Tales of Eternia. If you'd like to get in contact with us or leave feedback for the show, there are several ways to do so. Visit the website, www.geekcastradio.com. We can comment on all our posts. Send email to feedback@geekcastradio.com. You can leave the show feedback in iTunes. You can follow us on Twitter, GeekCastRadio, or your Twitter is...
TFG1Mike.
Mine's at OptimusSolo. You can become a fan of us on Facebook. Search out the Geekcast Radio Network. You can call the voicemail line. Tell us the show you're leaving the message for and your name. The number there is 502-526-5821. We hope you enjoyed the tales today, and don't forget to join us on our next adventure when we will turn the calendar to 1984. So we're leaving you at December 1st, 1983. We will rejoin you at September 11th, 1984. For season 2, discussing episodes 66, 67, and 68, or if you want to number it 1, 2, and 3, The Shadow of Skeletor, The Energy Beast, and Fisto's Forest. For now, I'm OptimusSolo with
TFG1Mike.
And by the powers of Grayskull, you all have the power.
Is Snake Mountain ready to take on He-Man? Anytime!
Snake Mountain, battle armor, He-Man, and Skeletor each sold separately. You put the mountain together. Batteries not included.
Is your serpent ready to strike? Yes! Come, He-Man. Come to Snake Mountain. If you dare.
Snake Mountain with Echo Microphone, new from the Masters of the Universe collection. Action figures each sold separately. From Mattel.
We risk our necks going into Snake Mountain. We fight on Skeletor and all of his henchmen, and a giant snake will get the disc, and what I want to know is this.
What, Orko?
How come I never get any credit?